Now the middle. Nirmala Sitharaman, I'd like to bring you in. Question of economic mismanagement. We're talking the numbers in. Mr. Mungekar is representing the Congress tonight. Now, this point being made repeatedly, there is no alternative. We put ourselves into a corner. We don't want to become Greece. We need to be practical. Ms. Sitharaman.
Well, that statement coming from a government which till now has been saying, in spite of the international financial meltdown, they have managed the Indian economy, protected it, kept it immune and kept the growth story going. Now, suddenly when they come back to tell you the currency depreciation is essentially as an after effect or a fallout of international situation, I just find that they are betraying all the kind of, stories that they were wanting to cover up till now, essentially trying to, not explain how we've come to this situation. In spite of the parliament, every debate asking the government as to what are the concrete steps which are being taken to protect the poor from the persistent inflation, asking the government to spell out very clearly as to what are the kind of steps they're taking towards the second generation reforms, spell out also what are the specifics that they're doing towards non-monetary measures.
Are we getting caught in symbolism? I mean, is this, I'm sorry to say, Rahul Bajaj, do you think somewhere this is about sending the right image so you get the right editorial written in a foreign newspaper? Substantially, it amounts to nothing. It seems to be aimed at getting a global applause. Rahul Bajaj.
No, I don't know what you're referring to by global applause. As I said earlier, I think last 3 years mismanagement is the cause why we are landing ourselves in today's position of current account deficit, fiscal deficit, inflation, and now the petrol price increase. But the retrospective amendment which was referred to by Mr. Pai and Gar, the general anti-avoidance rules, these were very unfortunate. In fact, in some meeting I said so very strongly to the Honorable Finance Minister. But I didn't understand your question, or what do you mean?
My question,
what were you referring to?
Let me simplify.
Grandstanding for the global community.
No, let me simplify. Let me put it in a certain context, right? When there is an economy which has, say, been mismanaged and which the economy is under great pressure, Mr. Rahul Bajaj, it is expected that every part of our country, every community, every individual contributes his or her might. You tax the, you tax,
Absolutely correct.
Right, absolutely correct. You agree with me, right, Mr. Bajaj? Now, I'm asking you tonight
I agree with you.
that the corporate sector of India accounts for 88,263 crore rupees of the revenue foregone in 2010-11, which Swaminathan Iyer says is rubbish. He says it's a made-up figure. I'm pulling out these figures from what the CAG has said. What will corporate India do? The man buying his petrol on your Bajaj scooter is doing his bit by paying more for the petrol. What will corporate India do? How will they step in?
Corporate sector.
Again,
listen, I can't speak for the corporate sector. Speaking for myself, we don't want handouts, we don't want charity, we don't want subsidy from this government or any other government. We pay taxes. I fully agree with what Swaminathan said. This 80,000 crores or whatever has been paid into the budget, we can't discuss this in half an hour on a show to justify
but when you spread
the price increase for petrol.
So when you spread
80,000 crores is for export. Is it for backward
Mr.
area?
Bajaj,
it's for 101 things that subsidies are done.
But Mr. Bajaj, when you put the pressure equally. And therefore, I'm going to ask once again, Meghnad Desai, I know you're disagreeing violently with me there, but what will corporate India do? Where will they step in? And forget corporate India, I'm asking today, what will somebody driving an extremely high-end diesel car?
For what?
Why should somebody driving an extremely high-end diesel car, for example, not take the burden?
Should not get.
Why should? But they do.
Should take the burden.
So
should pay the full price of diesel.
So what has happened now is short-sightedness, isn't it? Lord Meghnad Desai, why do you disagree with what appears to be the most logical thing to do in the circumstances?
No. Arnab, let's
it's not possible to charge two prices of diesel. That's the problem.
Okay, can I speak?
Yeah.
If the government does one good thing of decontrolling petrol prices, let us welcome it. On the question of corporate tax concessions, Rajiv Kumar, who's secretary of the FICCI, pointed out in an article in Express long ago that much of that number is actually not a genuine loss. You read that, I haven't got time to explain that. So in a sense, what we ought to do, not to say, why do you do this, why don't you do that? Thank you for doing this, but why don't you also do that? Why don't you also raise diesel price? Why don't you also remove fertilizer subsidy? Welcome the one good step, and let's hope that there are many more bold steps.
But I have a figure tonight.
Than just
But I have a figure tonight. Even if I say that 50% of the so-called tax exemptions for the rich, as Swaminathan Iyer says, are made up, they are not true. Abhay, welcome to the panel. The figure is 4.6 lakh crore. If I wipe out 50%, that's 2.3 lakh crore.
Yes.
Compare that to 1.44 lakh crore, which is subsidies for the poor.
50% you wipe out. Why don't you wipe out 99%?
I'm saying
Go to
50%.
the facts.
Why not 50%? 50% of the subsidies for the top of the tax exemptions for the rich.
This is a matter of detailed calculation, and I don't think you can do it on a TV program.
Sir, these are detailed figures that I picked out from
Exactly.
parliamentary reports and CAG
Exactly.
reports. There is an existing large tax subsidy for the rich.
As I said, Rajiv Kumar explained long ago in an article that this is not actually a correct figure. What can I say to you?
Well, the figures are from parliamentary panels and the CAG report. We take the figures.
It may be, but
One second. Mohandas Pai. Yes, Mohandas Pai.
Arnab, I read those figures for the last 5 years, every year. That 5 lakh crore figure is wrong, is wrongly calculated. And if you look at the details, you understand very well how absurdly high it is. But the basic reason why we are facing problems here is that the government spending is out of control. The government borrowed 1,30,000 crores 5 years back. Last year they borrowed 5,25,000 crores. This year they're borrowing 5,30,000 crores. Their expenditure has gone up in the last 5 years much more than the revenue, much more than the growth in the economy, because it is out of control, and everywhere they're under budgeting, they're unable to manage the economy, and the reason is high inflation, a current account
Sir,
deficit, a fiscal deficit, and now the rupee
just
going
one
down,
line I
and it's a
need to
vicious
say
cycle.
here.
So the government has to cut its expenditure totally, go on an austerity drive, not by saying you
right.
don't fly abroad or travel saying ordinary
Sir, I'm
class,
sorry.
but by cutting it across the board.
Sir, I'm sorry,
and
but
stabilizing the economy.
Sir,
This is
I'm
the main
sorry you
challenge.
contest the figures, but I am quoting figures presented in a finance ministry document, an annual publication that has the figure of 511,000 crores.
It
But
is
forget
there, it
that.
is there.
If I were to contest that,
Yes, it is there.
Let the viewers of Newshour tonight ask the question about gold versus petrol. Let's take the figure of gold. I'm harping on the point. 50,000 crore rupees would have been gathered by not exempting gold and diamond from customs
tax
duty.
gold.
Food security bill, on the other hand,
let's
Swaminathan
tax,
Iyer. Food security
I agree
bill
with you.
in this
I agree
budget
with
is
you.
27,000 crores.
tax gold.
Arnab, can I
Tax
come in
money.
here, please?
Yes, please, Swami.
Arnab, okay. The way this budget calculation has been made, the assumption is that every time you cut a tax, it is a concession to a particular sector. All right, let's come to the ordinary Admi, the consumer. The average excise duty on various items used to be 80 to 100%, and on something like polyester stainless steel used to be 200%. That has now all been brought down to 12%. The budget does not make a calculation of it. If you make a similar kind of calculation, you will discover that the Aam Aadmi, the consumer, has been having a supposed giveaway, a great revenue giveaway of millions and millions and millions and millions of thousands of crores. And that would be a bogus calculation, so they don't make it. They don't make it on the import duties. You see up
Swami,
to 700%
Swami,
on various things. Now, to once again say, if only it was, look at all the duties that we have cut in the last 20 years, all this is a
Swami,
huge giveaway, a great
Swami, I am
concession to the
only
Aam Aadmi.
asking you.
If you made those concessions,
Swami,
you
Swami,
would
Swami,
discover
simple point
at the end
is
of it all,
the people of
many
Swami,
calculation.
Swami, what are the people of India being
But
told?
let me just finish. No, let me just finish. I mean, I understand what the people of India are being told in one budget document, which is a bad one.
No, what are they being told now?
It is, I think the government should come out with another one on what has happened to the Aam Aadmi as a result of all the excise duty cuts and import duty cuts. But let's get out of this narrow little sleeve. There is this notion that the government must control these particular prices, otherwise inflation goes out of hand, the common man is hit. Sir, only in India is this kind of discussion taking place. In any number of other countries, the petrol price goes up and down. In those countries, the inflation rate is only 2%.
Yes, but in other countries,
in India, it is 10%.
No, but in
the
other
notion that
Swami,
by controlling
But Swami, but in other countries, when import duties on make gold costlier, you are expected to do something to restrain gold purchases. Our imports go up by 50%. You have a financial problem, and you actually sort of effectively subsidize gold. You subsidize gold and remove the
On
subsidy
gold?
on. Yes, you're effectively subsidizing gold.
No, on gold.
Who benefits from that?
You have a point.
Why should
Okay, let me come to gold.
Why should I subsidize a
it is
gold
rational to have
retailer?
the same kind of import duty on all the imports. In the case of gold, the problem is even if you have a 2%, 3% duty, immediately all your revenue vanishes because it will go into smuggling. If you have an import duty of no more than 2 to 3%,
I'm sorry.
smuggling begins. If you have an import duty of even 10%,
That works for everything,
basically
Swami.
legal imports will be hugely substituted.
No.
This is the unfortunate reason why it is difficult to treat
Swami,
gold
Swami,
on par with the other
Swami,
items.
you know.
But I do not disagree with you.
Swami, you know that the rich gold retailers.
I don't disagree with you
The rich.
on the fact that gold also should be taxed. I don't disagree with you.
So the question was, Swami, of political will. I am only
Exactly. I
raising the
also
question
agree
of
with
gold in terms of political will. Abhay, I might like to draw you into this debate. Where do you stand?
You know, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, I used to kind of pray and hope that this guy should be there for 10 years as the head of the country. And today, I really feel, I wish I had not done that. All this debate apart, it is an absolute case of mismanagement. You have Dr. Singh as the CEO of a company who has a board of directors, which is like the cabinet ministers, with each board of directors having who want to run a separate company within that company or want to replace the CEO. Now, when you have a situation like that, either the CEO should get up and say, look, change the board, or the CEO should resign. Because if you don't do that, no matter how
Why
good
saying
the
that in the context of what's happened yesterday?
No, but I'm saying that look at it. I mean, 7 rupees is what 10%.
750,
10% is
yeah.
what was 50% of the imports that are done are petroleum imports.
That's true.
Irrespective of whether rupee is at 50 or rupee is at 57.
Point taken.
That will happen. Now you take rupee back to what it was 2 months back, which was 50, which is about 10%. Effectively, the oil companies are saying today that as today's price, with this 10 rupees hike, they have no loss to make.
No.
So if rupee was managed at 50, effectively you wouldn't have to raise prices.
Precisely.
Yes.
Secondly, if you were to do it, even if you had to do it, if you had not act stupidly and waited for the parliament, if you had done it over 7 months, over 50 paisa or 1 rupee, like the oil companies were shouting then, they think the public is stupid not to realize that suddenly the oil companies become independent the day the parliament closes. I mean, how stupid do the politicians think or the current dispensation thinks that we are? Because if you had, today you would be actually rolling back the price.